Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today on Sue's Healthy Minutes, you will have the pleasure of hearing another amazing It's the Bread story. For many weeks now, you've been hearing these stories. They just keep coming in, and I am always encouraged when the Lord connects me with yet another person who shares their story with me. I hope you have enjoyed hearing these testimonies as much as I have of better health from real bread, God's perfect provision. My guest today is Sara Valentine. Sara and her husband live in Starkville, Mississippi, where he is in veterinarian school, and Sara is in her 4th year of dental school. Sara has a powerful testimony to share with you today, but I do want to give a short medical disclaimer here, as I do not want anyone to think that we are advocating disregarding a medical diagnosis. I am well aware that there is a medical condition known as celiac disease. It is genetic and usually diagnosed at a young age. Someone with true genetic celiac disease will never be able to eat wheat or any grain with gliadin, a gluten-forming amino acid, even if it is freshly milled, unless, of course, the Lord heals them. However, that being said, I do know that today gluten sensitivities and even celiac disease are often being diagnosed, even misdiagnosed, based on symptoms, and gluten just seems to be the easy culprit to blame. As you listen to Sara's story today, ask God to give you wisdom, and I know that He will. Now, it's time for me to let you hear Sara's story. I usually begin by asking my guests to tell how they first heard about Bread Beckers, but today I want Sara to begin with her backstory, as she calls it. And as she says, her journey is long, but I want her to share it all with you today, and even as she calls it, the TMI parts. So without further ado, I want to welcome my guest, Sara Valentine. Sara, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy life to share your story on Sue's Healthy Minutes. I knew when I read your email that yours was a story to tell. So I want you to feel free to tell it all and to take as much time as you need.
Thank you so much, Miss Sue, for having me. I genuinely can't believe I'm talking to you. I'm just so happy to be here, and I'm so thankful for the bread. So I just appreciate all that you do. Yes, my story is a little bit long, but I'll try to keep it in a nutshell while still telling the important parts.
Yes.
So I am 27 years old now, but I have been gluten-free since I was 19. My whole life, I struggled with chronic constipation and dizziness and headaches, and I had a lot of brain fog and a lot of other unpleasant symptoms. And actually, when I was 11 years old, I was so sick, my parents had to take me to the emergency room, and we had no idea what was going on. So they then took me to a pediatric GI specialist who put me on a laxative and told me I would need to take that for the rest of my life, which was really sad to hear when you're 12 years old.
Yeah. Well, I think you said, too, the reason you ended up in the emergency room was you had not gone to the bathroom in nearly 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't even remember that part of my life. It was a very hazy part. So when I was 16, the doctor they had been taking me to actually retired. But I kept on with that laxative. I took it twice a day like he told me to until I was 19 years old. And little did I know that taking that every single day was making me chronically dehydrated. So that was contributing to part of my health that wasn't very good. And in high school, I was late to school nearly every day, it seemed like. I could not get out of the bed. I was always exhausted. I was bloated. I had these dark circles under my eyes, and I dealt with anxiety. And I felt like, looking back now, I feel like no one talks about this stuff. So I just hope that this story can help people, because I hope that people don't have to go through what I went through for so long. But anyway, I didn't talk about it with anybody because I thought maybe everybody feels this way. I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
And years later, I came to realize I was like living in a fog,
Yeah.
So I thought everybody felt that way. And I would tell myself, you need to kind of like toughen up, push through. So I got to college, my freshman year of college. I had joined all these clubs. I was taking a ton of classes. I was playing soccer for my university in that spring season. And I was also, I don't know if I added this, but I was working 3 part-time jobs, which sounds crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I was working a lot, and which was great. I loved all of it. And naturally, you would think like, oh, she's going to be very tired. But I was very, very, very tired. I was exhausted all the time. My health, I felt like, was declining. And I, once again, could not get out of bed. So one morning, I finally confessed to my mom that something had to be wrong with me. I felt miserable. And so she started researching. My mom is such a researcher, and she found a clinic that had this nurse practitioner, and then they also had a doctor of osteopathic medicine who focused on holistic health. And at my first appointment, they read my blood work out to me, and I don't remember everything because I, again, was kind of in a haze, but they were reading it out to me, and I was deficient in just about everything. I was vitamin deficient. I was dehydrated. I was on the line for hypothyroidism. I was so iron deficient to the point that she asked me if I had been having seizures.
Oh my goodness.
So it was just a lot to hear at one time. Me and my mom were both kind of, shocked. So they told me that I probably had celiac disease and that I was allergic to dairy as well. And they recommended I cut out for 6 weeks and see how I felt. They also put me on a laundry list of vitamins and supplements, which was good. I needed it.
Yeah.
They gave me these huge, they're called beef liver iron supplements, and I actually still take them to this day. But yeah, I had to take 6 of those a day.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So it was a laundry list of stuff. But after, so I quit eating gluten and dairy, and after just 2 weeks, I was a completely different human. I felt like I could finally see for the first time. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but if you've had brain fog before, maybe you will understand, but it just felt like I could finally see clearly.
Yeah.
Yes. And I told my mom, I said, I had no idea that people felt this good all the time. All the time.
Wow.
I was ecstatic. But I never took a blood test for celiac because after not eating it for a few weeks, I felt 100% better, and my dark circles under my eyes went away, and I didn't have to take naps all the time, and my anxiety went away. I just felt so much better. So we all just assumed I had celiac.
Yeah.
I had all the symptoms. And so why bother, to take a blood test? You have to eat gluten again for a few months. And I just wasn't willing to do that.
I don't want to go back feeling that way. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It sounded like a hassle. And I was like, no, I'm okay. So I just learned how to eat gluten-free and dairy-free. And it was very hard. I will say that. It was not easy, especially being in college. Because, all your friends are going out to eat, and you're in college, so you eat junk food. And so I learned how to read labels and find hidden gluten in common foods, like some ice creams have wheat and soy sauce has wheat. And then I had to learn how to order at restaurants and stuff, because it was just a whole new world of being really strict. And I remember at Bible study one night, my my Bible study teacher had made this casserole dish. It was poppy seed chicken, which is that was my favorite food at the time. And she didn't put crackers on it because she said, it's gluten-free. I didn't put crackers. So I ate it, and it actually had cream of chicken soup in it, which has wheat. And I was so sick for days. Oh my goodness. I was so sick. I would get headaches and stomach cramps, and I'd have to take naps, and my brain fog would come back. So I was very, very strict.
Yeah.
I didn't cheat when it came to gluten. My family knew that. My friends knew that. On holidays, I would sometimes let myself have a little bit of dairy, but I always paid for that with bloating and stomach problems and breakouts and stuff. So that's kind of been the last 8 years of my life.
And you're so young.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's okay. I will say I'm very grateful for the doctors who helped me, figure out it was gluten or whatever, whatever it was. I'm grateful at the time that I quit eating what I was eating, because I wouldn't be where I am today,
Right.
without that turnaround.
Right. You got your life back.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So in your email, you said fast forward 8 years. I think you told me that it was actually your brother. So tell us about that. How you came to hear about Breadbeckers and that part of the story.
Yes. Okay. So, this past February, just a few months ago,
Yeah.
my brother was looking for a way. He has, his oldest son was dealing with chronic constipation, and he's 5 years old. He's so young.
Oh my goodness.
And so he was, he and his wife were searching for a way to help him, figure that out. And somebody told him about you. They said, "Have you heard of Breadbeckers?" And my brother said, "No, I don't know what that is." So he started listening to your podcast, and then they decided to go all in. They actually only live a couple of hours from your store. So they drove to your store, and they got, their grain mill and the wheat and the yeast, all the stuff. And they started making their bread at home. And within days, my nephew's constipation went away. They were just baffled,
We hear this so much, and it's so sad. 5 years old. And that's what I tell people.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, constipation was an old person's thing. You didn't hear of it. And now we hear it all the time. 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And doctors sometimes they just say, well, there's nothing you can really do. Or like with you, take a laxative the rest of your life daily. Gosh, if they only knew the bread, freshly ground whole grains could fix it. So wow, that's amazing to hear that. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead.
No.
My heart breaks when I hear people, and I've had moms cry to me and go, "You saved my child's life," and that really blesses me. So it's a real blessing to hear that about your brother's 5-year-old son. Wow.
Yes, and it was amazing because I felt I had so much sympathy for my nephew, because I remember growing up, and I was like, oh no, he has what I have, he's definitely related to me.
Oh, yeah.
I was so scared for him to have to grow up with all those issues. But yeah, the bread just absolutely within days solved all his problems. And so my brother called my mom, and he told her to listen to your podcast. He was like, you have to listen to this podcast. Now, my mom is amazing, and she has been gluten-free with me since I was 19. She says it's because she has some arthritis issues, and it helps her arthritis not to eat gluten. But I think she's just an amazing mom, and just wanted to walk through it with me because she saw how hard it was.
Yeah.
So she found a class. She started listening to your podcast, and then she found a class that you were having at your studio with baking with chocolate.
Oh, yes. The everything chocolate class. Yeah.
Yes. And she called me, and it was my birthday. It was actually on my birthday that you had that class. And she called me and said, I want to take you to this cooking class for your birthday it's Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So sadly, though, like you said, my husband's in vet school. We had an event to be at, so I couldn't go. But I told her she should go ahead, and I would start listening to your podcast. So she and my dad went, and she was immediately hooked. She met you, and she got to talk to you, I think, a little bit. But oh my goodness, she was hooked. She ate everything, and I got a very excited phone call the next day.
It was a good class to get excited about, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, and I love chocolate, so I'm so sad that I missed it. I'm going to have to come one day to another chocolate class. But yeah, she called me so excited, and she said, it all tasted delicious, and she told me about everything you made, and the best part was that she felt great. She felt amazing. And so she went ahead and she went all in, ordered her bread maker. She ordered the grain mill, got wheat, all of it, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
So, yeah. So at this point, my brother and my mom, totally all in. So I was like, I'm going to listen to this podcast. So I would go to the park every day after school, and I would walk just to get some sunshine. Yeah. And I would listen to your podcast. And part of me was really sad, I'll be honest, when I was listening to it, because I had no hope at all that I could eat this bread.
Right.
But I was listening, and I learned so much about the history of our bread and what they were putting in it, and just what scripture says about bread. And it got me so excited about the concept of it. And so I thought, maybe my husband and my future kids could eat this bread, and I'll just stick to gluten-free bread. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
But a couple weeks later, I came home to visit my parents, and my mom's, all her, bread supplies had come in. And so she baked that first loaf of bread, and I just watched as my parents and my brother, I have 2 older brothers and a younger brother. And so it was my younger brother and my sister-in-law. They were eating the bread, and my mom was begging me to come try it, and I just couldn't do it. I just for a little while, I stared at it for about 30 minutes. I was like, okay. I can't. I'm like you said, I'm in schools, and I had 2 big projects I had to present the next week. And I know that if I eat, or I knew in my head, I thought, if I eat this bread, I'll be sick all day and all weekend, and I'll have to, take naps, and I won't have time to prepare for my presentations. But something in me was just just try it. Just eat a couple of bites. And I know it was the Lord now, but yeah, so I did. I ate a few bites, and, and I'm sure you laughed when you saw this part in my email, but I immediately started crying.
No.
Started crying, and that sounds so dramatic, but I had not tasted real bread in almost a decade, and I was just so shocked at how amazing the flavor and the texture was. I don't think I've tasted bread that good ever in my life.
And have not eaten it for so long. I mean, or wheat bread, gluten-free is definitely different. So
yeah, you're just basically eating potatoes and rice formed into the shape of bread.
Yes, that's a great way of putting it.
So I was just so oh my goodness, I was so happy. And I think we all prayed that night that the Lord would either heal me or that I didn't have celiac after all. Yeah. And so the next day I woke up, and I was just kind of waiting for it to hit me, I was just waiting for the brain fog to come back and my stomach to hurt. But I woke up and I felt great. I felt really, really great.
Gosh, that's so amazing.
And my stomach felt so great. And I went all day long without having to lay down. I didn't feel the need to take a nap. I didn't feel brain fog. I felt so good, and I was shocked. And so I ate a whole piece of bread that day. That was on Saturday. So I ate a whole piece of bread that day. And then Sunday woke up, felt amazing. When we got back from church, me and my mom, I felt so good that we decided to bake donuts.
Oh, wow. Did she make the donuts that I made in the class with the chocolate?
Yeah, we fried them and had the chocolate sauce and everything. That's how good I felt. I was wanting to eat the donuts. I wanted all of it. They were so good too. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I was like, you know what? As long as I feel good, I'm going to keep eating it. And my mom baked me 2 big loaves of bread and sent them to school with me. And I went home with 2 big loaves of bread, and I have eaten this bread every day since then.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to share your TMI part. You said you went to the bathroom better than you ever have in your whole life.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I did. It was great.
Oh gosh, that is so good. So you've been eating the bread now every day since when?
It was like the end of February, and I feel good. I've just had so many positive benefits from it, you know.
Yeah, you mentioned, share some of those.
Okay, so first of all, my energy levels, I feel so good in the afternoons, especially. I don't get these afternoon slumps anymore where I feel like I need some coffee. And I don't even drink coffee. I hate coffee. But I just, the afternoon and you're just like, oh, just like sluggish. But I don't feel that. I feel so good in the afternoons, especially. And I know my skin looks healthier. I sleep so well. And I go to the bathroom every day. I feel fuller for longer. I actually lost 5 pounds in the first week of eating this bread because it was so easy to not eat a bunch of junk food. Like I didn't crave food, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would eat the bread and feel satisfied, and I could just go about my day and not feel like I needed, snacks and stuff to supplement.
Right. I think that's such a good point too. There's so many buzzwords these days, and sometimes I think people think gluten-free means healthy, and it doesn't. You put it
No.
It's potato starch and white rice.
Yes.
And so no fiber there filling you up. And then, of course, they have to add lots of sweetener and salt and stuff to make it taste halfway decent. So it's not filling you up. It's not satisfying you. And it really, in my opinion, is in the realm of processed junk food,
Right.
And I get it for people that believe they have to be gluten-free, but it's not satisfying for sure.
Right. And they've come a long way. When I was first diagnosed or misdiagnosed, I'm not sure how to say it, but they didn't have as many options as they do now. I mean, they had a lot, but it really has come a long way, but it's not the same. It's not nutritious and filling. It really is potatoes and rice, kind of in the shape of bread.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you've always liked to cook, so this was not a transition, right?
No, this has just added so much to my experience cooking. I've always kind of cooked my meals from home because of being gluten-free. It was just so much easier, but now it's just fun. I have so much fun cooking. I mean, we can have sandwiches. I've made Texas toast, pancakes, pizza, pasta, and I actually last night made homemade tortillas.
Yum.
They were so good.
They are. They're just so delicious.
Yes. I was going to say one of my favorite benefits, though, from eating this bread is that I can eat dairy now.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I haven't been able to eat dairy, for 8 years. And so when I started eating this bread and my stomach got better, I was like, I'm going to try to see if I can have some cheese. So I kind of introduced cheese and I was fine. And then yogurt and milk. And now I don't have to buy 2 different kinds of milk and butter and cheese and ice cream and yogurt. Like I can just buy one now for me and my husband instead of buying, the dairy-free version and the regular version. It's saving me a lot of money and it tastes so much better.
Yes. And I don't think people, and I don't even fully understand the connection of gut health with with the different allergies, but that is amazing.
Yeah.
That it's healed you in that way. Golly, it's just so exciting. So you already bought your own grain mill, right? And bread maker.
Oh, yeah, I did. I bought my own grain mill and my bread maker. And like I said, my brother doesn't live too far away from you guys. So he'll drive to the bread baker store every few months and kind of pick up the wheat. And then we kind of disperse it between our family because now my entire family, I have a very big family and we are all eating this bread. All 3 of my brothers and their families and me and my husband. And I've talked about it to all my friends. It's one of those things where you can't stop talking about it. It's just too good. And so I've told my classmates, I've been in school for 4 years with them. They know I don't cheat on gluten. And so they're amazed. Like I've brought pizza to them to try and like bread. And that some of them have even bought like grain mills and bread makers. And they're going at it now. They're making their own bread and listening to your podcast. So it's been fun.
Oh my goodness. You just inspire me just listening to you.
Oh my.
It's been so great to hear your story, because I believe it will be an encouragement to so many people. I don't think I don't know how to say this, but I don't think we're fully understanding that wheat is not the bread that's offered in the store. That is a totally altered product it is making people sick. It's what I've been teaching for 32 years now, but it's just hard to make that connection. And when I hear people say, oh, the wheat is inflammatory, or the wheat is this, or whatever, I'm like, it's not the wheat, it's what they've done to it. So I'm just so happy that you've shared your story. Your family has seen so much improved health. I do want to reiterate to our listeners that you had all the classic symptoms of celiac disease. You really did, as a young child. So you never actually had a blood test diagnosis. Is that right?
No, I did not. And I will say, we don't know if the Lord healed me or if it was just the wheat, the bread in our grocery stores. We don't really know, but I am really thankful. And I hope that people can hear my story. And I told my mom before coming on, I said, no one was really talking about this when I was growing up, and my mom didn't know about Bread Beckers. And so I hope that if you have like a child or a teenager, or if you're a young adult and you're going through stuff like this, I just hope it helps just for me to talk about it and kind of bring it out in the open, to have some besides eating gluten-free.
Yep. And I just love, you don't know, did I really, really have celiac disease and God supernaturally healed me? Or was it truly the processed bread and wheat products that line our grocery store shelves? But either way, one way or another, God was in this story. And I found not only great freedom from quite debilitating bowel issues and health issues, but you found freedom in the food you can eat and enjoy. And to me, that is so exciting. So close today, and I just want to thank you so much. But I always want to give my guests one final opportunity to speak a word of encouragement to the listeners. And Sara, your story is like a gift. It really is to all who hear it. And I believe with everything in me that it is going to encourage those who hear it. But how would you like to wrap up your gift for listeners today? Just share one last final thought or word of encouragement that's on your heart.
I think I would say if you are struggling, with your health and you're thinking about trying the Bread Beckers, absolutely try it. And don't give up. If you're sick and you feel like, there's no hope or light at the end of the tunnel, there is. And just keep praying and keep diving into scripture and leaning on the Lord, because there is hope. And so don't give up and absolutely try this bread. And if you are celiac, I feel for you, and it's going to be okay either way. There's lots of good options for people who have celiac disease. But if you don't, I would absolutely try this bread any way you can. Give it a chance and don't give up hope.
Yes, absolutely. What a powerful message. And, the Lord promises us that if we lack wisdom, we can ask him and he'll give it to us. And I love it. It says without fault finding. He's not partial in who he's going to, or biased on who to pour out wisdom to. And I tell you, just this week, reading in 2 Kings chapter 20, when Hezekiah was told by the prophet that he was going to die, he had some type of infirmity, and he cried to the Lord, and the prophet had already left. The Lord told him to go back and tell Hezekiah these words. And he says, I have heard your prayers, and I have seen your tears, and behold, I am healing you. And I just, hearing your story, I'm sure you were praying, and I'm sure you shed many tears, as well as your mom, probably. Yeah. And it is such a blessing to me every time I hear someone say, I was praying and asking God for answers, and I across real bread. So, Sara, just thank you so much for sharing today. And again, I want to encourage each and every listener to seek God's wisdom for your life. And I know that you will find the answers you've been praying for. So thank you for listening today. Until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated, located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.